Across Scandinavia, the Alps and the British Isles, wooden structures endured relentless rain, freeze-thaw cycles and seasonal flooding. Churches stood on timber frames, bridges rested on wooden piles, ships crossed salt water for decades. None of this durability came from paint, plastic barriers or chemical pressure treatment. It came from a deliberate preparation method that altered wood before it ever faced the weather. This old-world trick was not about coating wood. It was about changing what wood contained. Medieval builders knew that moisture only becomes dangerous when wood can feed decay. Rot organisms do not attack dry wood out of hostility to rain. They attack when moisture activates sugars and starches trapped inside the cells. Medieval builders understood this through observation long before science named fungi. Timber that lasted longest was timber that had been stripped of its internal nutrients. The solution was prolonged water conditioning, a process that sounds, well, a bit counterintuitive until its results are examined. Submerging fresh timber was intentional preservation, not just storage. Newly felled logs were sunk in rivers, lakes, ponds and bogs for weeks or even months. In Northern Europe, this was done in cold water to slow bacterial growth, while allowing sugars, sap and soluble nutrients to leach out gradually. Flowing water sped up the process, but still water worked just fine when temperatures stayed low. This treatment did not weaken the wood, it actually stabilized it. Once the internal food supply was gone, rot organisms lost their foothold. When removed and dried correctly, the timber resisted decay even under repeated wetting. A modern application is, well, direct and practical. You submerge untreated lumber, beams or posts in water for several weeks. It's important to ensure the wood remains fully submerged and weighted down. After removal, you stack it off the ground under cover, with airflow on all sides. Allow slow air drying, not rapid sun exposure. Cold season harvesting made the method even more effective. Medieval foresters cut trees in late autumn and winter whenever possible. Sap flow was minimal, sugar content was lower, and insect activity was dormant. Timber harvested at this time required less leaching and suffered fewer biological attacks during processing. For modern builders, sourcing winter-harvested logs or cutting personal timber during dormancy improves durability from the first step. Even commercial lumber benefits from soaking, but untreated winter-cut wood responds best. Slow seasoning completed the transformation from vulnerable to resilient. After soaking, medieval timber was never rushed into construction. It was stacked on stone or timber skids, raised above ground moisture and shielded from direct rain. Drying took months or years, not weeks. This slow seasoning allowed cell walls to contract evenly, closing pathways that wick moisture inward. You know, rapid modern drying often creates internal fractures invisible to the eye, which later trap water and accelerate decay. Applying this today means allowing soaked or untreated wood extended acclimation time before installation. Even kiln-dried lumber improves when left to breathe under shelter before use. Fire was used as a surface treatment, not a destructive force. For posts, cladding and ship hulls, medieval builders sometimes, charred the exterior lightly. This process burned away remaining sugars near the surface, hardened fibres and reduced water absorption without sealing the wood airtight. Charred wood sheds water efficiently and, dries quickly after storms. Unlike paint or modern sealants, it does not trap moisture beneath a film that eventually cracks. A practical method involves controlled flame exposure until the surface darkens evenly. Once cooled, loose char is brushed off. The wood remains breathable, but is far less hospitable to decay. Natural oils worked because the wood had already been prepared properly. Tar, animal fats and fish oils were applied selectively, primarily to joints, end grain and exposed surfaces. These substances slowed moisture movement without blocking it entirely. They were maintenance tools, not primary defences. Modern attempts to replicate this often fail because oils are applied to untreated wood. Without nutrient removal and seasoning, oil alone only delays rot. On properly prepared timber, it extends lifespan dramatically. Design choices ensured that wood could dry just as easily as it got wet. Medieval builders, avoided trapping moisture. Posts would rest on stone pads, roofs overhung the walls generously, and timber frames allowed for airflow. Joints were always shaped to shed water rather than collect it. So, applying this knowledge today means, elevating posts above the soil, avoiding sealed exterior joints, allowing sunlight and wind access, and designing structures that accept wetting but encourage rapid drying. It's rather fascinating why this old-world trick still outperforms modern solutions. So, here's the thing. Modern sealants, they sort of assume that wood must be completely isolated from moisture. But medieval builders, they understood that moisture is just unavoidable. Their approach, really, was all about making wood biologically uninteresting to decay and physically capable of drying out again and again without suffering damage. Wood treated in this way, honestly, it survives rain, snow and, the passage of time, because it simply no longer feeds the processes that would otherwise destroy it. If you value engineering knowledge that's been proven across centuries of real exposure, do consider subscribing to Thermal Vault. Share this guide with anyone who cares about durable building and, help keep these old-world methods alive where modern shortcuts just keep failing. Thermal Vault